Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Family Meal. I'm Ann Earhart, one of the owners and founders of BosUrban Partners. BosUrban is a retail real estate group. Our work activates the street-level public space within a single building or a larger neighborhood, and we help match retail stores and restaurants with available space so they can open new locations. You may be wondering what a real estate company is doing, putting on a cooking show, and that is a great question. Community is a really big part of our platform at BosUrban, both in the spaces we create for people to come together and gather, and our commitment to giving back to a community that's been really wonderful to us. And so Family Meal came about as a way to honor that sense of community during the COVID-19 shutdown. Family Meal is a fundraiser that we are putting on to benefit No Kid Hungry. No Kid Hungry is an amazing organization doing really important work right now, providing healthy meals to children who have lost access because of the pandemic. We are going to talk a lot about Family Meal. We are doubly lucky this evening. Our guest chef is Douglas Williams, who Food and Wine magazine recently named to its 2020 list of the top 10 best new chefs in America. So exciting. And joining us again as guest host is Tonya Nayak. Taniya is on the leadership council at No Kid Hungry. She's a restaurateur and owner of restaurants like Citrus and Salt and Yellow Door Taqueria. She owns a prominent interior design business, and you probably know her best from her TV appearances as design expert on ABC, HGTV, and the Food Network. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Huge thank you to everyone who has donated so far, and thank you to Taniya and Douglas. Taniya, I'm gonna kick it over to you to introduce Chef and get us going. Thanks everyone, have fun.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
I am super excited because first of all, there's a few things in this world that I really love, and one of them is food, and the other one is wine, and I love No Kid Hungry. I almost said New Kids on the Block. Where did that just come from? I've been a big advocate of No Kid Hungry for several years now. I'm also the biggest nerd when it comes to chefs. And so today I am super excited because we have not just a chef, but we have a superstar chef with us. And what I'm really excited to share with you, and I'm sure we'll get him to tell us a little bit more about this tremendous, tremendous achievement, but he was just named one of the best new chefs of 2020 by Food and Wine. And that is just such a tremendous honor. If you are not from the Boston area, he owns Nita in Boston. He is just a phenomenally trained chef, and I want to introduce him now. His name is Chef Douglas Williams, and let me just pull up his video here. Chef, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good, we're so excited. This is awesome. It's
Too.
so nice to meet you because I actually realized we've never met before in person.
No, I don't believe so.
No? So you want to, first of all, I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about this big, amazing achievement, because I know right now with this pandemic and everybody being stuck at home, for you to be able to get that little tidbit of golden information, which isn't little at all, by the way, that must have just given you such renewed faith, hope, energy, excitement on the future. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's not just me, it's also for Roxbury, it's for that corner of Mass Ave and Tremont. It's for the neighborhood, it's for the city, everybody that supports the restaurant and restaurants in general. People that spend a lot of their income with me, and people like all the lovely chefs that No Kid Hungry is featuring for Family Meal. And it really belongs to the city, and especially that neighborhood. yes, we're very, very proud and excited. And honestly, during this time of COVID, we couldn't ask for better news to help pull us out of that, both in the mind and revenue wise. So it really is helping with some good news during this time.
Good. I mean, I can only imagine that must have just, because it just happened, what, in May, was it? Or a couple months ago?
Yeah, May. I found a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
but you have to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
But no, it's incredible, and it's been a lifelong dream, since I was 15. First reading about, the 99, 98 chefs. I was like, why are chefs on a cover magazine? It doesn't make, like, in their chef whites. So I
And
said,
look,
well,
you
let's
belong
see.
on the cover of a magazine anyways. I saw that photo that they had of you, fierce. Like, that's all I can say.
That photo went pretty hard. I was pretty excited about it. It was pretty good.
That was a
So
good
there was a couple
shot.
more like those.
I wouldn't mess with you. And
Thank
speaking
you.
of messing with you, I know you were on Iron Chef too. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
when was that? A few years ago?
Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's again in the same realm of the dreams. Around the 99 time, I started a Japanese Iron Chef
yeah.
when it was filmed in Japan, and then they switched over to Iron Chef America, which is, I'll take that. That's fine.
Hell yeah.
And I got to be in Kitchen Stadium and see what that was like, and it was just as good as I thought it was. Yeah.
It was a
Yeah,
great
it was awesome. Yeah,
Good.
more TV to come.
Good. I can definitely see that in your future, no doubt.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
can we tell our guests today a little bit about what's on the menu? Because it's one of my favorite dishes, so I'm really excited to watch you cook this. And I also want to tell everybody that there is a Q&A section, and there's also a comment section, a chat. So I will help, and Chef, I'll let you know if people have specific questions while you're cooking, and I can kind of tell you, what they're asking, and you can answer it. So
Sure.
let's
Feel
start.
free to ask anything at any time if it doesn't have to do with the dish I'm making. Totally fine.
Awesome. So let's talk about the dish.
Oh, me? Yes, I thought you know.
Dish about the dish.
No, so this is chicken piccata, traditionally done with veal. It's not technically a regionality thing. It's more so along the lines of the preparation that it's describing, which is pounded or sliced, pounded, breaded, and then quickly fried or shallow fried. And the best parts I like about this dish is that it's highly able to be interpreted in any way you want. Just adding lemon juice. Today we're gonna add the whole lemon, eat the rind and all, and it's bright and it's delicious and it's got all the characteristics you want. I like to do mine with egg noodles, just because it reminds me of what my mom used to do. And I love the texture, and it's not as dense and starchy as normal pasta, which sounds weird coming from me, but because that's what I do for a living. But it's a nice break.
Yeah.
And then I have some yummy garlic here. We make a preserved garlic that we make in Mita. And I wish you can smell this. You would freak out. I might actually have to send you some. I'll get your address. And I'll send some to you.
I am salivating right now looking at that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It like turns sunset orange.
Oh my
it's crazy.
God.
It doesn't burn. It's unbelievable. I also want to say, just to the viewers, I like to get things out that may go with the dish, even if I don't decide to use it. Things that I'm pulling out, or things that are hiding in the back of the crisper that are starting to grow some legs. Or things that I just might want to do on the fly. But you need to have those things out, which is why we call it a mise en place, to have everything you need when you need it and how you need it. So even if I'm not going to use it, it's a good way to create your own recipe and kind of ad lib. And as we say in the kitchen, a recipe is a guide, not God. So there you go.
A guide, not what? What was it?
God.
Oh, that's
like
good.
it doesn't. You don't have to do exactly what a recipe says, but it allows you. It takes you along the steps.
I feel like the more you cook and the more you kind of get in there in the kitchen, the more you get comfortable with that notion. Because sometimes,
absolutely.
If you're just starting out, follow that recipe, to a T, and then until you start to get familiar, and then you can start improvising and doing. I love what you said, but just having
You get
pets
weird.
elsewhere.
You can get weird. It's fine. And the worst case scenario is you give it to your dog or your kids.
Right.
Or both.
He might not even eat my food sometimes. Oh,
Or a neighbor. Yeah.
speaking of kids, you've got 2 twin boys, right?
Yeah, I got a set. They were just running around here pre-production,
Yeah.
testing the audio, if you will.
Right. How old are they?
They're barely 2.5.
Oh, that's amazing. So you have your
It is
hands full.
hands, legs, feet, every pocket. They're like popping out of here everywhere.
That's your latest workout regime, right?
It is just mostly just like this, and that's it, chasing.
Well, I'm going to pick your brain on a lot of different things,
Sure.
both family life and all that. But before we get started, are you drinking anything tonight?
I have a little water. I actually have to go back to the restaurant where we're kicking butt right now. Yeah, so I'm gonna just check in a little later. But I'll pretend I'm drinking yours.
I'll have mine for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Pinot Noir. I hope that our guests right now have their wine also in hand. And I think that if you want to start by telling us what ingredients you've got going on there, and we can have everybody get started.
Sure. I think you can see a few things on this camera. So again, I have my little mise en place set up. I usually don't do it on the stove, but I just did it for consolidation. So I have basically how I'm going to go: garlic, a little olive oil, butter, and then I'm going to saute the capers with that. I'm going to chop the whole lemon in just a moment, and I'll show you exactly how I do that. I'm going to turn on my hot water for my egg noodles. Little asparagus that I think I might put that in. I think it might be nice. Little low sodium chicken stock. Breading situation area for my chicken tenders, and some parsley. It's a very, very simple dish. You can use white wine as well. I'm just gonna keep it sans wine just for the moment. Just keep it a little streamlined.
All right. Sounds good.
So do you want me let's go right to it?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. It sounds,
And you can stop me at any point and ask me whatever you like. I don't mind, even if I'm doing it during just, all good. Not bothering me at all. All right, so
trust me, I've got so many questions.
Okay, good. All right, so first I'm gonna get the water boiling, like I mentioned, and then I'm gonna get this big kind of sauteuse hot, if you will. There we go. Okay. I usually like to start anything I do in a cold pan, or what we call a cold pan, I should say. And I always have a little start here. I don't usually do the whole.
To me, I never heard
What's that?
That's a news flash to me, starting in a cold pan.
Yeah, because if you heat up the pan, you put the oil in, it burns, you get nervous, you throw in garlic, you burn that, you get mad, and then you don't know where you are. You might as well just throw it out the window. So if you start in a cold pan, you have a good minute till it's just slowly starting to come to terms, and you can kind of get your pace. So that's how I always do. Yeah. And also, especially if you're using butter, that's especially that. So I'm just gonna keep that on super low just for a moment, so I can bread my chicken first. So I don't know if anyone's cooking along, but I hope they are, because it's gonna be awesome.
I already have some questions.
Sure, bring them in. Come on.
Ready? So every week we realize people are obsessed with knowing what kind of knives you're using. So, or whoever our chef is that week, everybody wants to know the knives. So can you tell us what knives you're using?
Well, for kitchen, it's one thing. For home use is also one thing, because I like to use, for general prep and for what we call workhorse prep, or the workhorse knife, is this beautiful lady here. It is.
Hold on, let me switch the camera so people can.
Sure. I'm sorry, I could have went in the bottom.
No, that's all good.
So it's a Victorinox. I think it's a 10-inch. It costs about $50. It'll last you the rest of your life.
Wow.
You can drop it. You can't break it. You can put it in the washing machine. It has a beautiful gripped rubber handle. It's easy to manage. It's great for big hands. It's great for small hands.
What's the name of it again?
Victorinox, Victorinox. It's just a beautiful thing. It's serrated. The only thing you don't really do with it is cut herbs, but I do it anyway. And I also keep another Victorinox or Dexter, same sort of family-ish sort of company. This one I use for herbs and for small things, shallots, all that. And then this one I use for whatever. And it keeps this one sharp. So I only use it for certain things. But this one is my workhorse. I use it for bread, literally anything. And it's just a beast, and it's really sanitary. It's not made of wood. It's all the things you want.
I have to
So,
order
and it costs like $55. And buy two, give one for a friend, because you know you have another friend that wants a knife because they don't know. So It makes a great gift, but if it lasts them for the rest of their life, it's the best $50 you ever spent. So that's my piece on that. And they make these in several sizes as well.
Okay.
Right, so, and throw the questions out. I'm just gonna show how I'm doing the breading.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead. I'll throw a
I have
question.
my chicken tenders, as I like for this dish. Breasts they take a long time to cook. I usually end up slicing them to make them smaller anyway, but chicken tenders are the perfect thing. It's a great in-law dish. It's a great child dish. Quick, 15 minutes for yourself. It hits on all levels.
What is an in-law dish?
Pardon?
What is an in-law dish?
To where when you can't please anybody.
Oh, I love it.
You can't,
That's funny.
You can't lose. It's a free throw.
That's great.
But it's also yummy. So, got my chicken tenders, got my flour. I usually leave that unseasoned, just a bit. I like to know how much salt I'm going to add to it, and I don't really like to just arbitrarily add the salt. If I'm putting turmeric in it, or I want to get a little more ethnic, if you will. If you want a curry spice, if you want to add something spicy, a chili powder, a French seasoning thing, that's fine. Put it in there. Or you want to put herbs in there, that's also super cool. But I don't usually like the salt in there, because then I don't know how much is really getting on the food. So
speaking of salt, somebody asked if you should use salted or unsalted butter, and does it matter?
Unsalted, always, for cooking. I only use salted butter for bread.
Okay.
That's the only time I'll use salted butter, and maybe a specific other application, but I usually like to control the salt with my hands. And also when you're doing eggs, a really good way, especially if you're doing 50 or 100 at a time, but even if you're doing just 3, I usually don't like to put it on here, mostly because my children are usually standing right here, or I have my no shoes on. And getting on here or cracking it with a thing, it makes another mess. But if you crack an egg on an egg, only one egg will break every time. Both of them will not. And it honestly cracks in a way that just is so pleasant and nice. Actually, I need another egg to break this egg, and I only need 3 eggs.
So funny. On that, we have a chat going here, so I'd love to hear if anyone else knew this trick, because I've never heard this trick before. I love it.
It's a really easy way to do a lot of eggs. And if you ever want to separate eggs, a messy way is to kind of do it in your hands, just crack it right into your hands and do it. But if you have a bigger bowl, say you're doing 20 eggs for like a chiffon cake or something else, or a custard, you put them all in a bowl, just like this, just multiplied, and then you just dig in and get the yolks, and you just separate it out into another container instead of each one, and you're dealing with the shells. Once the shells are out the way, and you can kind of have a little more freedom. Dig that? Gotcha. So with this, I'm just gonna add a tad of water, just two little splashes, right?
And that's just to what, lighten it up a little bit?
Yeah, just so it's not so viscous, if you will. Okay.
Anne wanted to know, and this is a good question, because I read somewhere that you eat gluten-free. Is that correct?
Nope. I cook. We have gluten-free pasta for all of our pastas. But I have Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
And I've had it since I was 16. And I at first I started eating really clean because I didn't know what to eat at all. There was no sugars, no flours, no preservatives, anything from a can. My mom had to make my own ketchup, candy, cookies, everything. But yeah, that was for a moment, and then I figured out how to kind of wish the disease into remission in a sense. But once I got into the kitchen, I had to test the waters of gluten and whatnot. But but not anymore. No.
Not anymore, thank goodness. No. But so I think what she wants to know then is what flour would you recommend for somebody to make it gluten-free?
Oh, I mean, any flour, chickpea flour, rice flour, tapioca flour, arrowroot flour.
It's all good.
There's thousands of things to choose from, or just let this be dry. And honestly, you can dip it in some egg, and it would probably do okay. But there's a million resources to do now. But I would like rice flour. The texture is familiar, and we all know that it has a little bubblier, crunchier General Gal sort of. You'll have that sort of texture if you use rice flour. So okay. I would that's what I would choose.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna do this super quick, but feel free to keep throwing me questions.
Okay.
So I had these semi-dried out the package, right? Take them out the package, put on paper towel, and then just pop in here. Okay. Do a little shake. Okay. And just keep rolling it over. And like I said, I use chicken tenders. You can use thighs, but again, thighs are going to take a little longer to cook, so you have to adjust your heat based on, the cooking time on that, because the egg is still egg and flour is still flour, but the thighs have more muscle and more tendon, so it's going to take a little bit more time to cook and more fat as well. So
is it true that thighs have more flavor, right?
Hell yeah.
No, doesn't matter. Yeah.
And they're awesome. I love that. And if you want to use thighs, honestly, you can pound them first. Same as traditional for what piccata is, sliced thin to make it, applicable to the dish. You usually use veal, top loin, tougher parts. You slice them thinner, and you make them work for your dish. So anything's possible. Beef, probably not the greatest thing for this, but this technique. So then I take this. Can you see this? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that. Yeah, I came out a little further back so people could see you.
Should I flip this down a little bit?
If you can, yeah, that'd be great. I don't want it. I know your hands are. Oh my God, that's money. Perfect.
Okay, about that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Awesome.
So all I'm doing is putting them on a plate. Just flip them over.
So you're just doing flour and egg. You're not putting breadcrumbs or anything on it.
No. You want that fried, bubbly texture of the egg. The egg actually gets a really interesting texture to it, and that's the whole thing with the piccata.
Did you season the chicken first? Is that typically, or is the seasoning in the like?
I did. I lightly seasoned before our thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. I apologize.
And would you typically season the egg mixture as well, or no?
No, salt makes eggs do funny things.
Oh.
It starts to turn a color.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I have bad memories of salt and eggs. It's mostly kitchen stuff. Nothing's wrong with it. It just makes it turn a funny color. And it doesn't, it's with the whole, I like to really keep it precise. So I like to season it myself. The chicken, right on. So I will show you. So I actually like to keep it, you see this, but I actually like to keep it in this pool of egg here, so it doesn't get too dry. So don't worry if there's like a little egg in between. That's totally fine. Okay. So now I've got my heat on, right? It's not too hot. It's not too bad. Okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna add a little more oil. Okay. You have any more questions? You have anything you wanna? Oh?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I wanted to ask you my own question, and that is when you're being considered for best new chefs with Food and Wine, is
No.
there a process? How does that all happen? Or do you even know? Or they just call you out of the blue and they're like, hey.
No, it was I have a really super funny story. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna, so what I just did, I just tested the oil. I didn't just throw it all in there and just start going. You can see the egg, I don't know, you can really see it, but the egg is kind of semi-activated by that oil, not quite hot enough. So I'm just gonna put it back and then turn up the heat just a tad. Okay. So I was actually having a terrible month, and things weren't quite working out. It wasn't the best night. We were crazy busy. I was short people. Everything was happening, and then I get a call from the editor, and I was just about to go up to service. I was like, oh my God, I got my butt kicked, and I get an email saying they want to talk about some things, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll go do pre-shift. Came back down. I had a missed call. Called it back, and in the basement, there's like a not good reception. So it was, hi Douglas, we just wanted a 2020. That's when.
Oh
I was
no.
like, what? And I was like, already sure. I was like, what's going on? So I was like, what'd you say? They're like, I just want to wish you best. 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Freaking out. Lisa, I'm just gonna put this in. So now I think this is a little better temperature.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Just want to be very, very gentle. It's not going to be like a traditional fried hard. You want it to be a gentle thing, and I'll show you why. Okay. Because you want to keep this. I don't know really how to describe the texture. Again, a general gauze kind of comes to mind. It has that bubbly, almost airy fry without being starchy.
Yeah.
Without getting crunch. Right?
Got it. Yeah. I know. But it's funny when you describe it that way, I totally get it.
Which is a texture that I really think about and desire, especially when you're in the kitchen for a long time, because you don't get that texture. Like no one's like breading things in flour, then egg, and just like throwing it in oil perfectly. You're not, nobody does that. So that's what we're gonna do here. Okay, and you'll notice. Maybe I'll try to get closer to this camera. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Is that you'll start to notice. Terrible camera. Oh, here we go. Okay. So it'll just lightly be browning. Okay, not a whole ton, but just a light coating.
These tenders cook up quickly.
Oh my goodness, so quick. And they honestly make it really predictable, which is really what you want.
Right.
Okay. So just this beautiful, elegant, golden brown color.
I'm digging your tongs over there.
Oh, they call them little forceps, little 7-inch forceps. They're great. They make things really easy rather than big tongs. They don't just kind of tear things apart.
Right.
This is a little easier. So
This
you notice
dish is on your menu at Mita.
Pardon?
Is this dish on the menu at Mita?
It's if people ask for it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Somebody
I
asked.
gotta keep something special, you know.
Right.
But it's not the easiest. It is the easy dish cook. It's just got to come out perfect every time. There's no wiggle room with this dish, in my opinion.
So you mentioned General Gao's chicken a couple of times. What's your guilty your guilty takeout fast food pleasure?
Flash from a box. Well, cereal's number one.
Okay.
Absolutely on the list. General Grau fried rice and a beef cooked with some sort of onion product. That little meal, that's number two.
Okay.
Freeze pops. I eat them for breakfast every day. Green
What?
one and the red one. Yeah, see, got a whole
Green pops for breakfast?
freeze pop rich. See, there you
Oh
go.
my gosh,
My body technically only needs sugar to survive. So
well,
that's
that makes me feel better because I had a big bowl of ice cream for lunch today.
oh, see, there you go. And it got you through.
Not me through.
Okay,
I
so
went
now
from ice cream to wine. I need some help.
I need this. I wish we were gonna cook together.
Oh, I'm telling you what though, I have all
Really?
these ingredients. Because I have to control these camera angles, I will be cooking this after we're
Yeah,
done.
they kind of did you dirty. That you gotta play producer
Oh yeah,
as well as
I'm wearing all
interviewer.
the hats today. What
All right,
about
so
summertime
now
jams? What's your summertime playlist?
my summertime playlist.
Yep.
A little bit of like reggaeton, bachata, some Bad Bunny, some Ozuna, a lot of like old rock, 70s,
Nice.
classic rock, John Denver, all that. He has some, hearing about love in the summertime is great. My mom was born in the 40s, so what is his name? I cannot remember.
That'll come to you later.
Yeah,
But I like
but
that.
just good
Good.
mix of everything. And I'm trying to get into new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Some Luther Vandross, always.
Can never go wrong with some Luther Vandross.
Never go wrong. Never. Okay. So now just get so with the second batch, it gets a little easier, and you just start to get more comfortable. You get into it, and you just start to kind of feel it out. The heat becomes more comfortable. I'm actually going to throw in some egg noodles. They only take about 6-7 minutes. Actually, I'll put season. Okay. And I don't know how people do their seasoning trays. I think it seems normal to me, but I have my seasoning out. Like I don't put in the cupboard. I mean, I have a whole cupboard full of everything, but my salt, my pepper, a little olive bottle. It's great to have a little squeeze bottle of it. Then you gotta grab the big bottle and do the whole thing. You gotta put the weird top they do on those ones you buy from the store. I don't know why they do that. And I just bought a little dentist tray for like $30, and it'll last forever. And it just stays nice and tight. Everything you need. It looks presentable, and it's always where you need. It's like you can't use the excuse like I couldn't find the salt.
I gotta tell you, I want to like pat myself on the back right now because of this whole quarantine, I've gotten so into my cooking jam that I have a little setup just like what you described, and I'm feeling so proud right now.
It just makes you a faster cook.
It makes me want to cook more too.
What's that?
It makes me want to cook more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it reminds you. Mm-hmm. Reminds you. So now I have my fermented garlic. All right.
Okay, we're going.
I just added some butter to
the good stuff.
Yeah, boom, boom. I go pretty hard with it. And honestly, the thing about preserved garlic, and we should probably get everybody the recipe at one point. But
that smells amazing.
Really,
I can smell it from here.
It really isn't more pungent. It's just a richer flavor, if you can dig what I'm saying. It doesn't really get more offensive. It doesn't get more garlicky. It just gets deeper in flavor, which is a really just interesting way to use garlic. And you end up using way more garlic than you ever usually use because you don't have to chop the garlic right away.
So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you don't have that paste that you were just describing that you make, what's a good? What would you suggest?
Shallots or I just added some chopped capers, by the way. Okay.
Oh.
Just shallots or regular garlic.
Like, can you just chop up garlic, or should you roast it and make a paste out of it?
No, it's fine. I mean, I like fresh garlic, but this just allows me to use a lot more of it. Okay, so now I'm just gonna add some chicken stock.
About how much?
About 2 cups. And then I'm just gonna quickly. So take this lemon. So I really enjoy using the whole lemon, and when I mean the whole lemon, not a whole lemon per se, but if you can see this well, all I did was take the ends off, quarter it lengthwise. I'm gonna say take the mid off so I don't get most of the seeds, right? And then just gonna thinly slice
Oh, nice.
the lemon. And you'd be surprised how bright and not bitter and not what you think it would be. And honestly, you can saute this with the garlic, with the capers, but either way is fine. My mom used to use this technique a lot. She was saying Lebanese, and also my wife uses this technique as well. And you don't end up with that weird lemon slightly used in the back of your fridge.
And it cooks up nicely. I would imagine that it's just lovely to bite into.
And even more so, it eats nicely. You know, it just and when it sits overnight and you eat it the next day, even better. Okay, so I'm just gonna add. Actually, I had an idea to add some mascarpone.
Ooh.
I had some, and nobody's using it, and it's there. So I think I'm just gonna add a tad. I'm not a big fan of adding the cream if unnecessarily, but if we have it, it might work, and it might be awful. Well, it can't be really awful, but
live and learn.
It can't be. Yeah, exactly. And just try it out. It's just a good way to be.
I don't think you can ever go wrong by adding mascarpone cheese to anything.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Okay. So now I'm just watching this come down, smelling it, right? You know, you want to be careful right now in these times if you're tasting for other people. But, you know, mixing your saliva with them. But, yeah, we want to be bright. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of lemon in right now, and then a little lemon to finish. Okay. And you just play gentle with it. That's it. So now I'm going to add essentially my chicken back into the sauce. But before I do that, I'm going to drop some egg noodles. Okay. See if I can catch that up. And then you're going to add your chicken back into the sauce and cook it down. And now the flour will start to come somewhat off the chicken, almost the same way pasta does, thickens its sauce that you cook it in.
I'm amazed.
And it also cooks the chicken, puts the flavor of the chicken into the sauce, and vice versa, and the chicken absorbs the sauce as well.
I'm so amazed at how simple this is. I think sometimes the best recipes are just basic, simple, clean ingredients, and it's just like.
Well, it's just a lot of it. Honestly, what we did here was just process. It really, you know, wasn't. It's not magic. Obviously, I'm going to add a little bit more because I think it's going to take another minute for it to completely cook chicken. But you start to notice. Sorry.
If I was using white wine, which I would I do a half chicken stock, half wine, or?
No. The wine is not, for me, it's not necessarily volume. Mm-hmm. It's about adding in sweetness and acidity.
Okay.
Because you need something to brighten it up. And lemon doesn't always have to be the sole carrier of that. But the wine helps with some really nice sweetness. That's not sweet per se, right? Some sophistication. And you'll start to notice that you just, what we call nappe. Nappe is like a coating of sauce on an object. And you'll start to notice it starts to get a nice nappe, which is like a glaze, which is what you're looking for.
Okay.
And that's how you'll know that the sauce is at the right consistency, in addition to the viscosity that's on your tongue. If it's pleasing while you're tasting, which is why it's so important to taste as you go, and to use the recipe as a guide. Not guide, I thought you were gonna follow me up, it's okay, sorry. But that's why it's good to just taste as you go and see where you are. And I think honestly you can use some pepper. And you have the best thing about this dish is you have a really good foothold on the cooking and the doneness. If you want to taste or check a piece of chicken, just take it out cut it open, look at it, throw it back in. It's not a big to-do. You know, there's no like thermometer to use.
Right.
It's just very simple and very not that stressful. You just kind of one with it. As you see, I haven't really been looking around. I'm not in the closet. I'm not on my phone. I'm not worrying about everything. The whole world is right here. And that's the great thing about cooking, you know, simple dishes like this, especially one pot, especially having your mise en place. There's no reason to run around to the fridge and here and there and there. Everything's within a step. And it's actually very pleasurable.
It's one of my favorite things about what you're doing right now is that it is one pot. I mean, that's gold.
It's absolutely yummy. And then halfway through, and somewhat of the way through, I'll flip over just to make sure that the entire chicken is being evenly cooked through. Okay. And then I'll give it, and it was nothing. That was store-bought, low sodium chicken stock. There's no real magic. Mm-hmm. It's just really the attention and the care.
You find.
Yeah, and again, I was gonna add some. Actually, you know what? I'll add some right now. Some asparagus, just some tips, or the whole thing, whatever you like. I'll just show you here. Just easy, just raw. Didn't blanch them, nothing. Just gonna put those in. Why not? And I don't want to put them in too early because for me, nothing worse than overcooked asparagus. And I just like it to be a little more raw than anything. Okay.
So while that's going,
yeah, sorry.
Chef, I wanted to ask you, you know, what your role with No Kid Hungry has been in the past, and you know, if you have any thoughts you want to share with our guests today about No Kid Hungry.
Yeah, I mean, No Kid Hungry has been great. Several years, even before I've had Mita, which is for about 3.5 years. I'm going to the events and offering my services or my words to help, you know, obviously childhood hunger and just hunger in general, especially since we are the ones holding the knives and with the expertise. You know, I think it makes sense that we're the ones who kind of shout out the message and shout the advocacy and start to understand ourselves more about something that we maybe take for granted and do every day, and you know, serving guests and having those stresses be a daily occurrence, to step back and you know, think about the bigger picture, which is you know, advocating for the people who can't advocate for themselves. And you know, it feels special to be able to do that. But I think saying, you know, share your strength is a very interesting way to be with No Kid Hungry, because we can't do it ourselves, but we can do it together as a cumulative force. Right. And I think that's what it doesn't feel like it all lies on me or my restaurant, but you know, features like, I think Colin Lynch is cooking next week, and to have him down the street from me and to associate with him, you know, and to do it together and talk about that, it feels really great.
It's funny you say that. I agree. I feel like the network of chefs in Boston, it's special. There's a great camaraderie amongst the chefs in Boston, and I feel like everybody supports each other. And one of the times that I see that the most is at the Taste of the Nation event every year, which I've been lucky enough to MC that event for the last 6 years, but I get to meet some wonderful chefs. And when I see their camaraderie and the friendship and the support and love that everyone has for one another, it's really awesome.
Really amazing. Well, there's also nowhere to run in Boston. It's very small.
Yeah, yeah. Better be nice to everyone.
So if you see here too, just quickly, I actually have some parsley, and I was apprehensive to use just the leaves, so I just used the stem. But the stem actually has a ton of flavor. Actually, a little more mature flavor than the parsley leaves, and it's a good thing to maybe use those up first, because you know you're going to use the leaves first, or you know, at some point. So I actually like to use the stems, and they're a little have a little more rigidity than the leaves and a little more texture. So I'm just going to use those just to show that.
Good to know.
Okay, so again, the asparagus is cooking nicely. It's glazed well. It has the glacé. Okay.
That looks delicious.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I can get this.
How do you have twin boys, 2.5 years old, and it's quiet in your house right now?
They go to sleep for the next 12 hours. They wake up at
wow.
6 in the morning, and they go to bed at about 6 o'clock. So they're down.
They're down for the count.
We keep them busy. Okay, so now, got my egg noodles. I'll bring them over here. Okay. I think this might be the best spot, you think? What do you think?
Here, let me switch over. One sec. All right, here we go.
If need be.
Gorgeous.
Okay, that all right there? Everybody see that?
Perfect shot. Yeah, we can see it beautifully.
Okay, so now, got it perfectly glacé, right? Has that texture, has that consistency. It's saucy, it's not loose. Right now. Okay, and you just
that looks delicious.
Okay, there's all the things you want. Little vegetable, a lot of protein, a lot of sauce.
That was so fast.
Good amount of lemon. And this will serve, you know, if it's only for two, you definitely have lunch for the next day. Okay, and it's just saucy and bright.
That is a healthy.
And again, with the capers, you can have capers. Some people don't like that. Some people are apprehensive about having capers. Either saltiness or just the unfamiliarity. But then don't have it. And make it your own dish. A la John or Katie, whatever you want to do it. Just add something, add your love to it.
Right.
Really the whole thing.
You know, that's one of the things I say all the time. You can taste love. Like when somebody cooks with love, it is a game changer from, you know, if you go to a chain restaurant and there's somebody just kind of pushing through food, oh, that looks beautiful. That's made with love right there.
Okay.
100%.
And that's it.
Wait a minute. That's it? It's like
we should have cocktails for the next one. I think that would be the setup.
I'm down with that. I'm down with that. I have to tell you, this was just so awesome and so fun and so easy. I can't even believe that you just whipped that dish up like that so quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because I have all of the ingredients. I don't have the asparagus, but I'm going to find something else in my fridge, like you said, and I'll whip something up.
Anything. All the herbs. Yeah.
And I'll tag you. I'll make it and I'll post it.
And I'll repost it,
okay.
and we'll be famous.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have to tell you, congratulations again on
Thank
your
you.
incredible achievements and accolades. I mean, it's just so cool to be named. You know, this is one of your dreams, one of many, and I'm sure you've got so many that are like knocking on the door. Yep. So super exciting. I also want to thank you for showing us a really simple, easy meal and for doing this with BosUrban Partners and No Kid Hungry and just this opportunity to share what No Kid Hungry is all about, and that's feeding hungry kids here in America. And typically it was providing lunches at schools, but because school is out, they're still providing meals to kids, which it just warms all of our hearts. And I don't know a single chef out there that does not want to be involved with this organization because they do so much good in this world. So it's so cool that you were able to take the time and be with us today and help us and share with us your incredible talent. And I know how busy you are because you have to get back to work tonight.
I do.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything you want to say before I close this all out tonight?
I just want to thank, No Kid Hungry for thinking of me and highlighting what we do at META, but also what we do collaboratively. I really don't know the next time we're going to get to be in a big warehouse cooking hundreds and thousands of meals for lots of hungry people to support the cause. But, I think we'll find a new way to do that. And it might even end up being something more beneficial for what we're fighting for, right? So it's just about hope and working together. So share our strength.
I couldn't agree with you more. So if you haven't been already, I know dining. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing for your dining experiences right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've been doing takeout for several months now. We opened the patio about 3 weeks ago, and we have inside dining for the past 2 weeks. We loved it. Obviously, social distancing and all the procedures that we need to take very seriously, but it's just nice to have people hanging on the patio in summer clothes, drinking rosé, smashing pasta, and just churning down gelato. So it's a beautiful thing that we're forced to be outside. Not at least it's not February, you know. And that's all I have to say about that. But we have all the old classics. We have the focaccia, gelato, tiramisus, all that stuff. So we having a good time.
I'm so excited. I'm going to come and visit you soon. And,
I would like that.
When you talk about it, I can see the glimmer in your eyes and the passion that it exudes from you. So I love that, because I feel the same way about design. And when I design restaurants, I have that same fire. And, it's not something, it comes from within. We learn what we do and we have experience, but it really comes from within. So
absolutely adore. Right? And that's why you're one of the best.
And that's why you're one of the best.
Thank you.
If you're not already following Chef, please make sure you do. It's at Douglas Williams with 2 S's. Douglas with two S's.
As is normal, I think. I think it's just, as of late, people are like, you have 2 S's? And I'm like, everybody has 2 S's.
Do they?
Yeah, you got to look at it close.
Too funny. Well, make sure you follow him, because I know you have a lot of fun stuff that you share on there.
For sure.
I want to remind everybody that we have a link in the chat that you can click on if you want to donate to No Kid Hungry. And just remember, this class was free. If you want to donate $5, $10, $100, whatever you want to do, it is all for just the best cause imaginable, and that's feeding hungry kids in America. And again, thank you, BosUrban Partners. I am so honored to have finally gotten to meet you, but I'm telling you, Chef, we have to meet in person next time.
Hugs and handshakes. Well, I have to wait on the hugs and handshakes, but we'll get the thing. I'll talk through the food.
Sweet. I love it. All right. Well, thank you
for having me.
For sharing. And have a good night, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.